Andrew Klavan is the Daily Wire. What's his title? Chief chief misogynist. Here he is.
And people will probably die, and I'm not belittling that. But as we stare at the skull, maybe we can use.
You know you've got a problem if you're having to say, like, I'm not belittling people dying. My guess is he's probably is.
Take a hit here, and people will probably die, and I'm not belittling that. But as we stare at the skull, maybe we can use this moment to think about what an even better future might look like. Just as a possible for instance, maybe this is the mom moment we've secretly been waiting for. I've spoken before about how I think feminism began to become a thing in the 18th century when industrialization destroyed the home industries that gave women their economic participation and power. Feminists have argued that that power was more important than women's contribution as mothers and homemakers, and I disagree. But now that children are staying home from school and workers are telecommuting, maybe this is a moment to wonder, do we really need to send our kids to government facilities where teachers' unions keep dangerous incompetence in place, spouting leftist gender horse manure? Couldn't more moms work from home so that kids can be schooled in the values of their families? It's worth wondering anyway.
Hey, maybe this dum-dum doesn't realize it, but there have been public schools around the country, like as essentially everywhere around the country since Reconstruction. I think the idea that women are deciding they want some type of economic power and that they can decide what is the most important role that they have in their lives is not a function of schools that started in the 1870s and 1880s and 1890s. But I don't know.
If our new technology could bring back some of the home industries. Maybe this is a moment when we solve the college debt problem by not sending kids to crappy colleges where they learn to hate their native land by reading communist histories by guys like Howard Zinn. Maybe this is the moment when places like Hillsdale can teach the truth and beauty online, and that'll count as a college education.
Hillsdale, I think, is a sponsor of certainly of Mark Levin, and I think I would imagine probably sponsors that. It's a religious college that also sort of basically theocrats.
Truth and beauty online, and that'll count as a college education. Everything we have as a nation can vanish in a flash, and everything we have as individuals will vanish in a flash when we die. It's not a bad thing to consider how to strengthen the virtuous behaviors that make our free systems possible. The world isn't ours, it's God's. We just live in it for a little while. And we don't make the rules of how best to do that. He does. And we've rewritten them at our peril. Now,
what is it with the guys at the Daily Wire where they basically have this direct line to God? Ben Shapiro is the Pope of the Jews. He can tell you what the good Jews is. Andy Klavan here is telling us what God says. Apparently God, the guy God, speaks to Andrew Klavan. Tells him that really the women should be back into homes. That's the truth. And we know it because God came down and wrote a book about it. Told us what was right. And then people started educating the women, and they started going to these schools and started thinking that they should have control over their own lives. This is the stuff that we complain about with the Taliban. I mean, right? That's why the Taliban does not want women to go to schools, girls to go to schools, because they start getting a little uppity. It's unbelievable, this guy. I'm not belittling people dying, but maybe it's a good thing because women will realize that their place is in the home. It may be a decent trade-off. But it's all in God's hands. I know because God told me. And he's a guy.